Welcome to the Greater Than Business podcast, where it's all about creating an amazingly successful business without sacrificing your quality of life, because life should be greater than business. And now, here is your host, Courtney Bedore.
This is episode 11 of the Greater Than Business podcast, and today we are going to be talking about mental health as an entrepreneur. Now, this episode is not going to have any guest experts on it that are professionals. It's just going to be me giving you my advice on how I was able to overcome all of the mental hurdles that entrepreneurs face, because there is a lot of them. And trust me, you will encounter them as you progress through your business as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how others can perceive you and how you perceive others. And just because someone appears to be happy and bubbly in all of their posts, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is all happy and shiny on the inside as well. So I just want to kind of let people know that it's always good to just be kind in every situation. And in the online world, if you do encounter someone that is doing something that you don't agree with, that doesn't mean that you need to attack them, because maybe you're just not understanding what they're doing and there might be things going on underneath the surface. So if you can just take a moment and really kind of show compassion at any encounter that you have in the online world, I think that that'll take a big, huge step in the right direction for everybody's mental health. So basically, what I want to talk about in this episode is how if you're feeling down, there's ways to get out. You can go read a book that you really love, or go do an external hobby that you really love. So something that takes you outside of your business. And that it's absolutely okay that if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, or even feeling depressed, that you can step back and take a day for yourself and just kind of hit the reset button. I know for myself, I've had to do that several times, just after like huge launches, or even really draining phone calls that I've had to be on. And I've had to actually take a day off after those calls just because I was mentally exhausted. And I know for myself, if I become at all tired, then my mind travels into not necessarily bad places, but just places of overwhelm. And once I hit those places, then thoughts spiral. And they don't spiral to bad places, they just kind of spiral into negativity. And that is not a good thing for my own mental health. So if you get yourself in those positions, I just wanted to give you a couple tips to kind of like check yourself out of it. So firstly, I wanted to stress that if you're feeling down, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to take breaks. And with those breaks, reward yourself. So go do something, eat something, drink something that you love. So for me, if I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed, I will go upstairs. I'll make myself a tea or a matcha, and I will curl up on the couch and watch Netflix for probably an hour. And if that doesn't make me feel better, then I will go in the bath or the hot tub and I will relax further. And if that doesn't make me feel better, then I will try to come back to what I was working on before and see if maybe looking at it in a new light might snap me out of it. And if that doesn't work, I generally just take the rest of the day off and then try it again tomorrow morning. So it's okay to take breaks. You're not a failure if you take breaks in your business, if you shut down early. it's all for the betterment of how you're feeling. And it's super important as the person running your business, ruling your little mini empire, that you take care of yourself as the number one priority. So I did touch on that in the last episode. And if you haven't listened to episode 10 yet, I will link it in the show notes that you can find at greaterthanbusiness.com/011. And that is where you can find all of the links for this episode. And if you haven't listened to episode 10, by all means, go take a listen to that one. So as I was saying, the other ways that you can kind of snap yourself out of it if you're having a down day is to go read some positive books. So along with positive books, there's always go watch some junky television. So basically something that's going to make you feel better. If you have a guilty pleasure TV or comedy show that you absolutely love, then go watch that for an hour. But if not, read a positive book. So if you have a book that you love, that you know can snap you out of any mood, make you feel better, it doesn't need to be related to business. It can be related to anything. But if you've got kind of your go-to book, pick it up and start reading. I know for myself, I have 2 or 3 books that focus on mindset that I will go pick up, and I will start reading those if I feel down. And I will link to those in the show notes so you guys can grab copies if you don't already have them. But basically, reading books can take your mind out of places and get your subconscious out of the dumps if that's where you are. And just making sure that you're surrounding yourself with things that make you feel better if you're down. So another point that I kind of touched on there was mindset. And I want to kind of talk about that now for a second. So mindset for me is something that I'm constantly working on, whether it's related to money or just positivity. I'm always trying to work on mindset and kind of checking myself as I go to say things. So if I'm at a non-entrepreneur function, so I'm at like a place where there's parent friends of my children, and they're all being really, really negative about work or something, I will try and remove myself from that conversation as politely as possible, because if they're complaining about work, then that's not helping my mindset. And if I'm already feeling down and had a bad day, that doesn't help the situation at all to then listen to someone else complaining about something negative, because then what happens is you start contributing. And if you contribute to that conversation and add more negativity, then they're going to add more negativity. And then before you know it, your mindset is going to be in a very, very negative spot. So one of the things that I've tried really, really, really hard to work on is mindset. Now, mindset is one of those things that only you can work on. You can work on it with other people, but it's really important that you make the choice to work on it, and that you learn to speak differently, learn to engage with people differently, and learn to interpret situations differently in order to better your mindset. So the way that you can kind of do that is to surround yourself with more positive thinking, positive messaging, positive thought processes. Like it's definitely a huge thing to start trying to do. But once you start, you'll notice little tiny shifts in how you speak, how you talk, how you encounter with people, and it ends up being really fun. So almost before you go to say something bad or allow yourself to think something that's not positive, you'll almost kind of check yourself. And it is the funniest feeling when you do that for the first time. So I highly recommend, if you are feeling overwhelmed, to start working on your mindset and see if that helps to kind of shift the situation. Because honestly, if you are struggling with just feeling down, then that is one of the quickest ways to kind of shift yourself out of it. Now, please, 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 I want to stress this. I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. And if you are actually suffering, you should seek professional help and get somebody that has obviously years of background to help you with this. I'm just giving you kind of surface things for if you are dealing with something in the moment and to try and not let it spiral. But that being said, if you feel like this every single day and you've tried to get out of it, then obviously there might be an opportunity for you to seek additional help on top of it. And there is no shame, no judgment. Absolutely. If you've got to do it, then go do it. But what I'm trying to talk about today in this episode is basically just trying to remain positive and keeping your mind in a positive state while you are running your business, which that in itself is hard enough. So if you have other external things that are going on that are making you actually in some form of depression or in a greater mental state that is not just a day of feeling down, then I really want to encourage you to reach out to someone professionally and get some help there, because it will do a world of difference for you. And nowadays, it's always great to talk about it. So, total side note there, but I really wanted to stress that I am not a professional. I have no professional training other than Psychology 101 way back in university, but I just wanted to share with you today tips that work for me, because this journey in entrepreneurship is not an easy one, and you will have days when you are up and you will have days when you are down. And what we're talking about now is the days when you are down and how you can kind of quickly pull yourself out of it. But if you become down for more than a week, then I would be making some phone calls. So anyways, the next topic that I wanted to speak on is the importance of having a hobby outside of your business that you can turn to kind of boost your mood. So whether it be something like knitting or a sport that you play, going to the gym, just basically anything that you do that's outside of your business where you can go and communicate with other people or even not communicate with other people related to a topic outside of your business. If you can just kind of find another way of relaxing and allowing yourself to find joy in something outside of your business, then that will sometimes reset you enough that you can actually go back to your business and kind of turn over a new leaf and get your mind situated the right way so that you can go back to what you were doing that was really bringing you down and look at it from a new angle. So if you don't have a hobby outside of your business, I would recommend that you get one and just try and find something that you can do. For me, I have several little things that I can do in my office if I'm feeling like I just need a change from what I'm in the middle of doing at that exact moment. I'll just grab something. Like I've got a couple little, like not necessarily games, but I have actually, I do have a couple games on my phone, but I do have a couple of card decks, and they just kind of allow me to refresh my mind. They're made by a company called Best Self, and they basically will just allow me to kind of think about something else for a minute due to reading these little like prompt cards. And then that can usually kind of reset me enough, and I can just kind of write about something else or think about something else for a little bit, and then I can kind of go back to work after I kind of get over whatever situation I was dealing with. So that's another great thing. I will link to those in the show notes as well. But they are definitely a good way to kind of shift in, for me at least. Okay, so hobbies outside of your business are a must, just so that you can reset yourself if you're having a down day. The other thing is having a person that you can turn to talk. So what I've done and what I've tried to always do in my life is always have one person that I can go to without judgment and just vent to. So no matter what crazy rambling it is that I have to get off my chest that day, I can go to this person and just say, okay, I need a minute. Let me talk this out with you. I want to explain what I'm struggling with, why I feel so down, and I need you to kind of help me get out of this, or a way of reframing it, or basically they'll give me some sort of advice to kind of basically hit the reset button. And that's kind of what this episode is all about. Basically how to hit like CTRL ALT DELETE on your day and start over. So it's not necessarily mental health, but it's kind of like just fixing the itty bitty little problems that go on in your mind during the day when you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling. So if you can have a person that kind of helps you hit that reset button, it makes all the difference in the world. And for this, you have to find someone that you absolutely trust, that does understand the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns and the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship. And sometimes I, in the past, have used other people that are running businesses, and that has worked out well. But when I think about it now, the one go-to person that I have in my life is my husband. He's not an entrepreneur, but he understands it because he has actually been in the trenches with me this entire journey, whether he actually was or not, because I have gone to him about every little tiny issue. And he does actually work in a sales position, so he slightly gets it. Not completely, but he gets it enough that it actually is incredibly beneficial. So if you have someone in your life like that, whether it be a best friend that is not in the entrepreneur space, or you have your significant other, or a sister, a brother, even a parent, just somebody that you can go to and just kind of say, okay, I'm having a bad day. I'm having this issue, and I need you to tell me everything's going to be okay and give me kind of a stern talking to that will snap me out of this. And it doesn't need to be mean. It just needs to be realistic. So if you're struggling with, say a client is really, really bothering you, and you know that it's not necessarily the client's fault. You know that it's something that is like, you're just having a bad day and this client said something and now you're irritated and you're kind of spiraling into this like, oh my gosh, why do I have this job? Why did I create this business? What am I doing? Then you just need to have someone that will kind of like check you and say, okay, you love what you're doing. Your client isn't evil. You are in a bad mood because of something that happened yesterday, and that is why you're now projecting it onto your poor client. And you just need to kind of be able to have someone that you can go to that will almost snap you out of it. So it was funny. I just imagined someone literally like slapping someone gently on the side of the face and just kind of saying like, wake up, you're fine. So you almost need someone that can do that, but verbally, not physically. And just to kind of give you that boost of confidence that you may need, or that person that can help steer your ship back on course so that you don't spiral into doom and gloom, which is not where you want to be when you're already stressed running your own business. So those are pretty much all of my tips that I have for mental health as an entrepreneur. There are way more that I could definitely get into, but those are just the main ones I wanted to touch on today. And I wanted to also encourage you that if you are needing a person to speak to, you can reach out to me. I've been there. I've done that. I have been in some pretty dark and lonely places in my business. And I've also been in some pretty amazing places in my business as well. So I've been up, I've been down, I've been all over the place. I've spun in circles literally for days. And I definitely have seen it all and experienced it all. So if you do need help and you don't have someone that you can turn to, by all means, pick me. That's fine. I'm here. I'm just an email away, and I will link to my email address in the show notes, as I always do. And I do encourage you to reach out professionally if you are feeling down and overwhelmed for longer than, say, 3 days. Then you definitely want to talk it out with someone that is way more professionally trained than just someone that is like a friend that you can go to that will be able to snap you out of it within a day. The other things that I talked about today were taking breaks and rewarding yourself. So basically leaving your business, shutting your computer, going somewhere else, and making yourself feel better for the day. Reading positive books, working on your mindset, and developing a hobby outside of your business. All of those things are quick, easy solutions to hitting the CTRL ALT DELETE on your day and then restarting it tomorrow or restarting it in a couple hours and feeling way better about yourself and the position that you thought that you would never, ever get out of. And there's always a story that I go back to when I think that things are never permanent and things can always change. And if you're looking at your current situation and thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't live with this reality, like you're basically kind of stuck and you don't know how you're ever going to make this situation right, there's always a way to make it right. And you can't look at it as my life is now going to be like this for the next 30 years and I'm going to be miserable. You are in control of your own business and you can pivot, you can change. If you don't like something, switch it up. If you are feeling like whatever situation you're in is going to be stuck forever, there's always a way to envision yourself getting out of it. And I had to do this once when my son was incredibly ill when he was born. He was born really, really early, and he had a whole bunch of breathing machines and tubes and everything all stuck to his poor little itty bitty body. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, he can't go to university with all of these machines attached to him. So eventually we're going to get out of this. This is our reality right now. But if we just keep pushing forward, taking it day by day, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, eventually he will no longer have all of these things attached to him. But I had to kind of almost flash forward 18 years into the future and go, he's not going to have all these then. So if we just take it day by day, then we'll get to a spot where he doesn't have these machines. And it took a long time. It was well over, I think it was about 90 days before he was finally wireless, as we worded it. But that is one of those situations that I always remember whenever I'm facing anything tough in my business. It could be worse, and it's not going to be forever. So keep that story in mind if you are in a dark place right now in your business. And basically remember that in 5 years, you won't be in this place. In 5 months, you probably won't be in this place. In 5 days, hopefully, you probably won't be in this place. And if you are, start taking steps to get yourself out of it. Just baby steps. And then start building towards the business and the life that you actually want. So that is it for today. As I said, I'm going to link everything that I've mentioned in the show notes, and you can find those at greaterthanbusiness.com/011. And I will link absolutely everything there. And I hope that this episode kind of allowed you to think about ways that you could just kind of shift the trajectory of your day and kind of set things back on a positive note if you're ever feeling down and overwhelmed. And I hope that the list of tools that I gave you are beneficial, and I hope that you liked listening to this episode, and we will be back next week with another new episode for you to listen to, and I hope to see you then.
Thanks for listening to the Greater Than Business podcast at www.greaterthanbusiness.com.